Hayden Ramsay is a great scholar. He has taught at the University of Edinburgh, University of Stirling, University of Melbourne, La Trobe University, Catholic Theological College in Melbourne, the Catholic Institute of Sydney, the John Paul Institute for Marriage and the Family, and the University of Notre, Australia. And of the last of those, he is now the Deputy Vice-Chancellor. I think he's, is he the Dean of Theology and Philosophy, Professor of Philosophy, Provost, you name it, there's all those titles. He's head honcho of the Sydney campus of University of Notre Dame. He's a great scholar, as I say, not just because he's taught in lots of places and is now very senior in tertiary education, but he's published a great deal in ethics, philosophy, books and articles. He's lectured all around the world and he came as a missionary to Australia. Because he's not Australian, as you heard in that recording just now, if you haven't heard him before. When he was at the John Paul Institute in Melbourne, I remember we had a student from mainland China who arrived, who spoke no English at all, and had to try and learn some English before they could study at the John Paul Institute, study the theology and pastoral care of marriage. And that student, when asked, was he understanding anything at all, said, the only lecturer I can understand is Professor Ramsay. Now this is the lecture with the heavy Scottish accent. It was the only English that this Chinese person could understand. So if there's anyone here from mainland China today, you'll find this easy to follow. Just give him some extra maple syrup. Sugar's gone to his head. As well as a scholar, or very much connected with that, Hayden is a man who has taken up the challenge of the last two popes, very strongly in the encyclical Fides et Ratio, but very strongly by Benedict in his Regensburg address, to unite faith and reason, to put both of these at the service of mission. And I think he's a very good example to us as someone that can take their intellect or their gifts, whatever their gifts are, and putting those at the service of the gospel. Hayden himself is a convert to the Catholic faith. I don't know if he's going to say anything about that today. And he has something of the zeal of the convert about him, but also always bringing the gift of human reason, of the best philosophical thinking to that task, as well as his enthusiasm of faith. He is a Scot, as I said, and that means he normally has his morning whiskey at this stage. We were only able to find apple juice. We hoped he wouldn't notice the difference. But the Scots have a tendency, you will know from history, to rout all their enemies. So come question time at the end of this session, beware. Whatever trick you've got in store, whatever hard question you've got saved up, he's going to have a good answer for you. Dr. Professor Hayden Ramsay.
I noticed that no one has told you yet what I was actually asked to speak on today. By the way, is there anyone out there not from Notre Dame? Okay, would you see Sister Luca afterwards, please? Thank you very much. I was asked to speak on 10 tips for defending the Catholic faith. think the first 9 are easy. You should go to Mass every Sunday. The 10th one, I suggest you sell your iPhone and give the money to the poor. 10 things. The church has actually been historically more interested in 12 than 10. 12 tribes of Israel, and so 12 disciples, and so on and so on. But on one very famous occasion, centuries and centuries ago, God himself directly went for 10, and he gave 10 words, or as we call them, 10 commandments to the old people, the chosen people. One for each finger, so that you can count them off and prove to the priests and religious in the room that all the youth of today can name the 10 commandments at the end of this talk. Now, most of you won't be murdering and coveting your neighbour's wife and doing too much of that stuff, at least in Lent, I would hope. So, what I thought I'd do is to try to give you 10 tips for today. I'm not a theologian, I'm not a priest, I don't know much about that stuff. I do know a little bit about philosophy, and an even smaller bit about running a university. So I'm going to stick within the world I know, the world of academic philosophy, and give you my 10 for today. Number 1, get the habit of thinking in the presence of God. You need to think deeply. You're made to think. This is what you'll be doing in heaven. Images of you playing footy and doing other stuff in heaven are metaphors. They're happy, inspiring pictures. In heaven, basically, you'll be thinking in a very special way in the presence of God. And of course, all you'll be thinking is God, because actually all there is to think is God. Anything that's worth thinking is only worth thinking because of its relation to God. So, I need you to think about thinking. I need you to think about thinking for yourself, which really means to think as God willed you to think, which means really to think with God. How do you do that? It's easy. Sit very comfortably on your own. Gently let your mind just note some matter of present interest or concern to you. Identify what the real heart of that matter is, what the essence of it is, and then quietly ask God to lead your thinking mind. This is what you are, despite all the wonder of the rest of your being. The rest of you matters because of your mind. This is the core of your dignity. This is your human nature. You are a rational soul made for God. You are a thinking man or woman. Use thought. Second thing, don't just talk to fellow Catholics. We're meant to divide our time squarely between communicating with fellow believers and with others. We need to talk to others. Not just to plunge straight in with the convert seal the bishop mentioned, so as to convert them to Christ. We need to talk to learn from others. Remember, non-Catholics are as capable of grasping individual truths about all sorts of things, just as capable as you and I are of doing that. And they may do it better than you do it. You and I have much to learn from people of other faiths and other traditions. To start to learn from someone else is when discussion becomes possible. You're not going to convert the world. You're not going to come back from Brazil and convert them by yelling at them, by yelling even the holy name of Jesus over and over again. You're going to have to talk. Discussion. Discussion means you have the opportunity to state what you believe, to listen to what the other person believes, and if possible, to seek some common ground. If you believe that what they believe is clearly false or clearly wicked, have one goal, and if you can't do that, if you don't know how to, or you feel shaken by it, walk away and talk to someone else. But look for common ground. When you're looking for common ground, remember, it's not your views that matter. Nobody really cares that much about your views. What people care about are the reasons behind your views, why you believe as you do. It's those reasons that are compelling. That's what will convert people in this world. You convert hearts, not the pump, the blood pump, but hearts in the sense of warm, compassionate feelings. You convert hearts by the example of your fidelity and constancy in the practice of the faith. But if you just worked at that level of compassionate feeling, you wouldn't keep the folks more than a couple of days. You need to convert their minds too. You need to tell people about why you believe as you do. Your story. It doesn't have to be a great big academic manner of showing them you've studied a degree course, but it's got to be a serious reason. A good plan, I would say, is at first, when you're talking to people about your faith, begin with reason, with your thinking mind. Talk reason first, later reason plus faith. A lot of people go in faith, then reason plus faith, then reason alone. I suggest start reason, then reason and faith. And then will come a time when faith alone, simple trust in the three-person God, will be enough to inspire your friends to go to Mass with you. The third of my 10, you wouldn't be surprised at this one, pray, pray. I don't like talking about my prayer very much because it's either confessional, I don't do enough, or it's boasting, I do so much. Personally, I pray, I'd say, about 20 times a day, and a huge majority of those prayers take about 10 seconds. They're a Hail Mary before I go into a difficult meeting or a difficult discussion. They're an Our Father and a brief prayer to St. Thomas Aquinas before I do a class or a talk. They're things like that. They sit there underneath and keep me going through the day. Remember, prayer is really just making a sacrifice to God, a small sacrifice. We know that the big sacrifice, the once and all sacrifice, was Jesus Christ sacrificing his life in his human nature to the Father. That one is always and forever. That did the whole deed for us. Each one of our little prayers is attempting somehow to share in this once forever prayer of Christ. Even those tiny little, no doubt terribly inadequate Hail Marys before my difficult meetings, they're my little attempts to share in his once and forever. I once went to a dentist in Glebe Point Road, and a dental technician, a New Zealand girl, whom I've never forgotten, told me, never floss in the bathroom. Her point is, you already have to spend time in the bathroom doing boring things, brushing teeth, guys shaving. So if you add floss to it, another 3 minutes standing in front of the mirror, the chances are you're going to give up on flossing. Floss everywhere. Floss when you're watching TV. Floss when you're giving a talk, but no, don't do that. Floss in unusual places. Floss when you can. After she told me that, I could almost swear to you I haven't missed a day's flossing in 6 years. Get the message? Don't just pray the one big prayer of Jesus when you go to Mass. Pray everywhere and pray often. Pray when it's easy for you. Pray when you need it. Just take 10 seconds, go to him, join in the one big sacrifice. And that will keep your prayer going. Number 4, think and talk about happiness. Happiness isn't just feeling happy. Some of you won't be feeling very happy this morning. But happiness isn't just about feeling happy. It's nice if you feel happy. Actually, most people who are genuinely happy don't feel happy all of the time. That's because real happiness is beatification. I don't think you have to die. I mean, real happiness is having all parts of your person beatified, or fully blessed, fully opened up, fully fulfilled. That means having your mind fulfilled, which we call truth and knowledge, your body fulfilled, which we call health, your sociability fulfilled, which we call friendship, your sexuality fulfilled, which we call marriage and family, your imagination fulfilled, which we call art and beauty, and so on and so forth. Real happiness is having every part of your person beatified, fully blossoming. Now, it's going to be really hard to get anything like steady, real happiness throughout your life here. It's going to come in the world to come. But we should aim so far as possible for real happiness for ourselves and for others here. The most supremely beatified creature on earth may really feel quite bad some days, maybe in pain, suffering, loneliness, boredom, or being fully blessed with God's love and flourishing in every part of the nature He created. They may truly be blessed, truly be happy. Think about, I'm going to be giving tips. Think about, there's some more practical ones to come later after about the third or fourth hour. Think about which aspects of your person are not currently fulfilled, not currently fully blossoming. Slightly buds that haven't opened up, or buds that have opened up and then gone a bit brown or closed up again, or withered and died a bit. Think about whether your mind, your body, your imagination, your sexuality, your sociability, your spirituality, any parts that aren't really resonating. I remember once reading a little three-line Japanese poem, see if I can remember it. It was quoted to me by a Greek man reading in a talk. The poem went, "And I said to the almond tree, Sister, speak to me of God. And the almond tree blossomed." And that's really happiness, beatification. The almond tree simply flowered. Almond trees can only really do one thing, because they don't go walking around, they don't go to talks, they don't eat pancakes, they don't go in conclave. Almond trees simply, if they're blessed almond trees, if they're within the light of God, they blossom. You have so many more parts to you than an almond tree. There's about a dozen different parts of you that need to blossom. Think about anything not blossoming. If you can, blossom a bit more. See what harmony you can make with all these different parts of your nature. Number 5, don't be afraid of thinking and talking about morality, about what's moral, what's morally right. The only people who are going to think you're a goody two-shoes and laugh at you are those who are acting or living immorally. Don't be afraid of morality. Morality is really simple to think and talk through and really fascinating. At the heart of morality is simply the message, don't go out your way to damage anyone else's happiness. Don't damage yourself, and don't go out of your way to damage anybody else's happiness. All those little parts of you that need to blossom, don't take any steps that cause anyone to fail to blossom. Don't go out your way to do it. Don't do it deliberately. That's the basis of morality. Morality feels really hard because of the way you experience it inside. Often what I experience is my own wishes or my own convenience, saying, yeah, I just want to go this way. I want to buy this, I want to do this, I want to go there, I don't want to go there. That's how you usually experience it. That's simply the weak parts of you trying to short-circuit happiness. That's you trying to get to real happiness, beatification by a quick route round the corner, an easy way. It's like going to the security when you go to the airport. You're praying they'll give you a pass to get you through the expressway to get you to the plane. Basically, morality says in life there's no expressway. Don't be afraid, but think and talk about morality. When you make a mistake in morality, it is serious, but don't go nuts. It's not the end. It's not deadly. Quickly note, this isn't how I want to live. That's called contrition in Catholic tradition. And quickly reverse the decision. That's called repentance. Try your best to do something about it. If you need to make amends to someone or fix up some part of yourself, do that. That's called penance. There's an easy way to put it all together. It's called confession. It's one of the sacraments, and the room is full of priests and bishops. This is what grown-ups do, particularly during Lent. A grown-up is somebody who's not scared of morality. As you know, some people my age stay scared of morality right through their 50s, 60s, and 70s. They stay adolescent even as they become old. They're not grown-ups. They're old, but they're not grown up. A grown-up is someone not afraid of morality. That's 5. Now, when God gave his 10 commandments, the first 5, the first tablet on which he inscribed the law and gave to Moses, the first tablet contained the most gravely serious of the commandments. The ones about having only one God, not being idolatrous, keeping the Sabbath, respect for parents and elders, and so on. I've sort of done a similar thing. With my first 10, I've tried to give you what seemed to me to be 5 very serious matters. When God the Father did this himself, the second 10 tablets, he chose to concentrate on intersocial issues. Don't murder, don't steal, don't adulterate, don't envy, etc. I thought what I'd do for today, with my last sort of 10 minutes with you, my second tablet is slightly less heavy, more like a set of practical tips or do's and don'ts. Excuse me. These are quite random. I could have written a lot of these, but I chose 5 because why? I did some thinking on Wednesday morning. I sat quietly and thought, what should I speak about? And these are what came to me. Number 6, spend time with old people. Christianity is a history-based religion. We look back to real events in Jerusalem 20 centuries ago, and beyond these to events in Israel 30 centuries ago and more. We're an historical religion. We embrace history. We love history because it helps us to work out where we may be heading next and how to think through Christian options for the future. That's why we need to embrace old people. And I'm very conscious that I'm talking to the youth of the Diocese of Parramatta. We rightly put a huge emphasis on youth. We, who are generally the sort of middle-aged who do stuff in the church, we put a huge emphasis on youth young. But part of the reason we do that is so that you can then put a huge emphasis on the elderly, on your grandparents, your great-grandparents, and their generation. Not every old person is wise. Some are foolish, and some are adolescents. Some are not grown-ups. But many are wise, and they've all been somewhere and come through it. Catholic youth needs to spend time with Catholic old, and vice versa. That's how the covenant between the generations, the agreement between the generations, the contract between the generations is formed, and that's how knowledge is passed on. 7. On Saturdays, take flowers to the Lady Altar in our churches. Or if you don't like that particular devotion, select and follow constantly another traditional pious practice. You see, these old Catholic devotions cross the centuries, linking us with our past. This age, as far as I can work out, is the only age which is wiping traditional Catholic practices out and not replacing them with others equally pious. Atheists light flowers, light candles and put out flowers when someone dies. Increasingly, Catholics don't go to their altars and light candles and lay out flowers. Traditions, like the faith, stay alive, not just at the huge level, the first 5 I gave you, philosophy, theology. Traditions and religions also have to be kept alive at the level of practice, doing stuff. Yeah? These pious traditions keep the tradition meaningful in ordinary folks' lives. Especially when you marry, when you have children yourself, keep the traditions alive. I used to, when I was your age and younger, not Catholic, I remember one thing that stuck with me. I used to visit an Irish Catholic family, Mary and Kenneth and the 4 children in Edinburgh. And as I went there throughout the year, usually for Sunday lunch, in Advent, they'd have the kids making these wonderful, sort of homemade Advent calendars and things, and going to the altar to say prayers to Our Lady pregnant with Jesus and the house in purple, etc., etc. And it really went deeply into me as an 18, 19-year-old, these practical, beautiful, pious traditions Mary and Kenneth taught their kids as a way of keeping the faith alive. So that was one thought. Number 8, do some study. Do some study. First of all, I really don't care where you study, as long as you're studying some version of the truth. St. Thomas Aquinas, than whom there has been no greater Catholic mind, at least since the death of the last apostle, St. Thomas told us all truth. It doesn't matter whose mouth it comes out of. It can come out of a devil. If it's the truth, then it's of the Holy Spirit. Truth itself is divine. Truth itself is our access to the mind of God, to the life of God. Study the truth somewhere. You've got to study somewhere reliable, of course. A reliable place doesn't mean it's got to be Catholic. A reliable place study-wise means that you have to be sure that you're getting parts, at least parts of the truth there. The truth about literature or medicine or history or sociology or information technology or whatever it is. You see, gradually as you grow up, you're meant to be sticking together a whole picture of the whole of creation and the whole of redemption. Many of your minds are still growing because your brain grows until you're about 22, 23, they tell me. Sorry, Bishop, we're finished. But for this lot, the brains are still growing. That means your mind is still active. Yeah? So you're scooping up bits of knowledge, bits of the truth from everywhere you can, and you're trying to build for yourself, to put back together the picture of creation and redemption so you can live it and then pass it on to the youth of Parramatta in this place when you're doing the talk in about 15 years' time. Truths from all these disciplines, medicine, history, science, IT, all these discipline truths are integrated by a discipline called philosophy, the one I study. That's what philosophy does. It holds all knowledge from all the other disciplines together. And once you've done some philosophy, there's another discipline called theology, which takes the whole philosophical system, everything in your head, and tries to integrate that with the divine truth, with God himself. That's how a classic education worked. Disciplines lead to the master discipline of philosophy, leads to the discipline that deals with supernatural theology. If any of you are completely fired up by that idea, then there are places in Sydney where you can study this stuff. No plug. You should consider those places. There are several of them. Almost there. Number 9. Fully acknowledge the incarnation. Fully acknowledge the incarnation. The incarnation doesn't just mean that Jesus became a baby at Christmas, then a man, and got killed and resurrected at Easter. The incarnation isn't just about Jesus becoming a baby and a man. The incarnation means that everything truly human has been sanctified by God. The human body, our language, our art, our socializing, our sexuality, our sex lives, everything that's truly human has now been sanctified by God, is now a path to goodness and to God. We should love everything good about the life of the human person. But we should also realise that this puts huge responsibilities on us. As language is sanctified by God, Christ spoke, and presumably today still speaks to his mother, human language. As Christ spoke human language, we should watch what we say and how we use language. The purpose of language is truth, and we need to respect that and watch how we talk, what we say, and what we say to whom. You could go through all the parts of the human being like that, I reckon. As sex is sanctified by God, we need to watch how we express it. Sex's purpose, as I'm sure you know, is to reintegrate the damaged relationships in the Garden of Eden. And it does that by making persons metaphysically one, two, become one flesh, so that biologically they can become three when they have a kid. Sex, like everything else, has been sanctified, and so has a purpose. You could go through them all like that. The human imagination is there to serve beauty. Don't use it to serve dirt in any form. Your capacity for your friendliness, your sociability is there to serve love, not hate and degradation or gossip or ridicule or whatever. So fully acknowledge the incarnation, the wonderful thing that everything truly good about, everything truly good, everything truly human is truly good. Thus it was made at creation, and thus has it been redeemed by Christ. Last one, 10. I'm a philosophy teacher. Love ideas. Love ideas. The Christ, the Son of God, is the Father's eternal and infinite idea, happily playing and tumbling through the heavens, and together with the Father by the power of the Holy Spirit, creating at every instant everything that there is. God's great idea, his Son. So love ideas. We should welcome them with open arms. We should venerate them. We should seek them. We should not be afraid of them. We should critique them. We should examine the ideas of other people. Don't just throw them out because you disagree with them. Look at them. Why is the person thinking this? What reason is behind this idea? Why have they got this silly thought? What does the idea really mean? What is this idea doing in their head? How can I become an idea buster? How can I bust her idea apart and get a better idea into her head? Try them out, rebut them, or endorse them, and add to them. Love ideas. One of the things that Benedict XVI did for us before leaving was to declare a year of faith. An encyclical letter on that topic, faith, was flagged, and now will never be, or will never come out under Benedict's pen, certainly. So you need to do something about that. You need to write an encyclical letter on faith on behalf of the old Pope. You need to write it with your lives, and you need to send it as a letter throughout this diocese. And you need to then send it to Brazil and bring it back. Above all, you've got to remember that people like me, your bishop, the popes, and even really, really old guys like Father Suresh, get our inspiration from seeing that despite all the odds and despite all this stuff in the media, the youth of West Sydney still continues to love and serve the church. You still continue to want to learn more about the church, and you clearly love Christ. Never, ever give up. The name of the new Pope is already locked within the Sacred Heart of Jesus. He knows it, we don't. We may all get a surprise when we hear this name. And without a doubt, the next part of the adventure will then begin. And it's an adventure not in Rome, because once they've done their sacred work, our bishops, our cardinals will leave Rome, and they'll voted the 6,000 dioceses of the world. And that, in West Sydney, in the Diocese